in the end, I think it's just whatever you're going to do, shove it down the audience's throat.
Whatever
They'll
you
either
do.
like it or they don't like it.
No, I love that.
But sooner or later, something will click. People want something different, something new.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No problem.
I told Alan that this would be a funny one. Not funny. Well, maybe funny. Definitely funny. But it'd be fun to do because I've known you for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting old.
First met, and I think we did a trio ensemble with Kevin Norton.
Oh my God. Is that
It
how
was
we...
you, me, and Nick.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
It's been a while. So I was telling Alan, I'm like, yeah, I've known him forever, but I don't think I've really ever asked you a lot of things. There's a lot of about you that I don't actually know. And you'll randomly drop stuff and be like, yeah, I grew up on a farm. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Like most jazz musicians.
Most jazz musicians.
You just don't know
where
they're from.
You don't know. All right. So do you regret going to quote unquote jazz school?
Do I regret jazz school? No, I think it was a unique opportunity that if you're able to take advantage of it, like compared to any other college experience or educational experience, just imagine people still forming a group based on a common understanding of not where you're from or who you are, but something else. Like it was unique. Especially in William Patterson, because it was like kind of isolated from New York City. It was in North Jersey. It was in a kind of dark, gloomy area of Jersey that, we didn't know why we were there. And we didn't blend in with the school or the local community, but we all immediately jived with each other.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I would always go back to jazz school, like as a kid, because like, it was the right call.
I've thought about that. I ask myself that question all the time. But then I think about, like, the fuck did I learn in quote unquote jazz school? And then I look back and I'm like, oh, it's the people I met, like you met my husband, now husband there. You know what I mean? It's just, it really shaped my life. A lot of experience
from, the people.
Yeah. So I don't know this even. How did you choose William Patterson? You're from Maine.
I studied classical piano, or had a classical piano teacher my whole life. Well, since I was like 6 years old.
Wow.
And, but at some point, when I was probably 13 or 14, when I heard rock and jazz, I was like, I don't know what they're doing. I grew up on a farm, as you know, but so I was very just kind of floating in the clouds through my childhood and experiencing all the experiences, being outdoors or dealing with animals or going to piano lessons or playing sports,
Mm-hmm.
And then, once I was in high school, it was a very large high school. It had a big pull from the whole area of Maine, and a lot of musicians, talented people, and they're just reading charts and playing grooves. I'm like, what are they doing? So I ended up finding a jazz piano teacher that ended up having ties with William Patterson.
How? Tell me.
He, pretty sure he played jazz with Dempsey in Russia, back in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
They were like part of the Russian wave, like when they were importing artists, and like some jazz musicians went there to like play extended gigs in Russia in the 90s, and Dempsey was in that scene, and this teacher I had, Dale Rhodes in Maine, was in that scene. And thus, when I was studying with Dale Rhodes, he knew of Dempsey at William Patterson. I had actually a great classical teacher that changed my life at the University of Southern Maine. Still to this day, she resonates in my ear.
You still keep in touch?
No, but like the things
you learn.
Certain teachers, have an impact.
They never leave you.
Her name was Laura Cargoul, classical pianist, and she had cancer that she actually lost her ability to memorize music, but she had worked back, for years, and she was able to perform again and memorize pieces.
So was your plan always to end up in New York City, or were you just kind of going there because that's where everyone was? Like, tell me about that move.
Just like everything jazz, you just keep improvising. You don't have a plan, right?
Yeah.
But the energy was to move to the city. Mm-hmm. You could feel that, you know. And if you're a musician and you're trying to do something, like, what are you doing not living in the city?
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the peers moving to the city are just, it's like, okay, well, I know people there now. Like, there's like a base, like you can at least get settled.
2008?
Yeah.
2008. And those were like, to me, the glory days of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Because there was the loft scene. There was stuff going on all the time.
There was a huge crossover of scenes, and everything was still possible. And it felt very free, and you could do pretty much whatever you wanted. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't any threat of crime or safety or like it was like a playground. Mm-hmm. And when we were there, definitely a playground. And a lot of great times performing in lofts and basements.
I know the pandemic has changed a lot for New York City, and I know you were not in the city during that time, but a lot of shit closed. That whole I don't know if that killed the loft scene, because right before then in 2019 we moved out to Queens, and I know there were a lot of clubs still out in that Bushwick area. What was the lofts that we were at? The Eldert Street lofts. And also Seth, oh God, what's his last name? Misterka and Jenny had a loft in South Williamsburg, and Alan, you can find the name of their bands. Like, they're still playing. Like, we'll find it. Sorry. But yeah, they survived. They're just like on the West Coast doing something totally different. I'm just like, oh man, that's awesome. Because I always wonder, like, what happened to those people we played with in Jewel Thief and that whole scene, that crazy band we were in.
Right. Yeah. And you see a lot of people have gone to like Europe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. A lot of our peers
trying to find a scene, but there's got to be something out there. You can't give up. Right. And there's people out there that they need entertainment.
Yes.
And where do you find this line of, who you want to be and how you want to perform and your audience and what that's going to be like. But in the end, I think it's just whatever you're going to do, shove it down the audience's throat. And
that should be the name of this episode.
They'll either like it or they don't like it.
No, I love that.
But sooner or later, something will click. People want something different, something new.
I would love people in the comments to just be like, no, there is a scene in Brooklyn. Like, you old lady, like, what are you talking about?
In the broadest way, it's like you got to make people feel again.
Feel again.
They got to feel. And feel is also like a musical ghost word, that we talk about and we use for a variety of settings. Feel.
Gotta have the feel.
And that's really just a code word for you have the intrinsic knowledge on what music's supposed to sound like, right?
Well, that's pretty subjective.
But feel is like a big,
I mean, it's art. Art, at the end of the day, you're supposed to feel something.
Right. And feel is like directly lineated to just being human. right?
Yeah.
Like we're the ones that feel. Not we don't make other animals feel anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to make people feel again.
So how do you make people feel, A, when you play, and B, how do you entertain, or are you trying to entertain when you play?
There's some real patriotic shit right here. True American shit. But I do believe modern Americans come out of a sense of feel in terms of the art they want. You know, we had a Civil War. We had John Philip Sousa after the Civil War. March music, power music. People got into it. People started to groove. And then we started to have blues music and Dixieland. And it just, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know where anywhere else that happened, where it was like we really wanted to feel and be entertained. When I learned piano, and a lot of the old piano teachers would tell you playing the piano is a visual entertainment as much as so you want to play in a certain way, and you might want to end a song a certain way with your hands and present yourself a certain way. It's part of the classical, you know.
Is it?
Sort of piano scene.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Franz Liszt was like the first rock star, and he was a classical pianist, and he was like very virtuosic. People fawned over him and went to go see his performances and that. So I think a lot about entertaining people is how to keep them engaged in every second of what you're doing. And a modern example that I'm a big fan of is Tyler, the Creator. And if you listen to his music, you wouldn't find a moment that doesn't have an entertaining moment. And in a era where so many people have ADD or we're like distracted all the time, you need entertainment that's just nonstop.
Yep.
So I think about the classical way of entertaining people on a piano into the American way, which was maybe stride piano or Dixieland or ragtime, and how that was presented in a visual way as well. You know, your hands were jumping around the piano.
Right.
People were doing glissandos. The Marx Brothers, if you ever watch them, they were kind of like film piano act, and just did a lot of, you know, you'd put an apple on a piano and roll it back and forth, and you'd glissando. You'd always do a glissando, and he'd end it by hitting the note like this at the end of the glissando.
Like pointing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I think a lot of those, and that was part of the entertainment. I mean, the song was entertaining too.
Right.
You know, so that non-stop visual, audio, oral entertainment is what keeps people going.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually resonate with what you're saying about the classical thing, which surprised me, because what you're describing is I never felt that way usually with jazz. Like if I was moving when I was playing bass, I was always told to stop. It was distracting, like a lot of my teachers. And I get that now because it can screw up your time. But ever since I was like a teenager, I'd play in rock bands. And I always thought, I come from a performing artist background. I was a ballet dancer, and I was always just performing. So it was natural for me to just move with whatever instrument. So anyhow, with rock, I always felt like I could just rock, like literally rock out and just have fun. And nothing agitates me more still to this day than especially bass players or rhythm guitar players in a rock band that aren't just rocking out, like that look like they could fucking fall asleep. I'm like, you're playing fun music. You're supposed to be fucking like like, you know, and it's not entertaining. It's boring as fuck. And I don't know. So I come at it from like a rock angle, but I always felt like jazz, that was kind of, it was all mental entertainment.
Right.
That's how I felt. Sorry, you were gonna answer
no.
my original question. I just totally cut you, which we're gonna talk about cutting too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you say. Like sometimes your head's too much in the page reading music, but there's a lot of talented people converting what's on the page into, really well felt, expressions on their instruments. I still think improvisation leads to all your answers, and pursuing your ideas and your own, improvisations will just further strengthen, what you want to say and who you want to be. But
Tell me about this European pianist story up in Vermont.
Well, it's a good cutting story.
Okay. Tie in the cutting. What
Because
happened?
he basically wanted to cut me.
Okay.
And he probably could have cut me. And he should have, And I probably would have been more than happy to have let him. But in the end, that's not how it happens, right? So that's why, there's an art to cutting. If you're going to do it, the person gets cut understands. It works. Like, and not only that, the person gets cut is also a musician. They're going to appreciate good music. It's not just like,
it's like,
I hate you. It's like, oh, wait a second. What are you doing? And that's how people used to learn, right?
Right. Yeah. It was a fun cutting.
So to not do that and to go, afterwards to be like, I was going to cut you.
Oh, that's what the person said.
And you're like, well,
what does that mean?
You were? Like, okay. Yeah. It was a rough gig in general. Not like a well-rehearsed band.
So there's two jazz. There's you on piano and someone else?
No, I was a pianist in the audience. He must have been in the front 2 rows or something. And the bass player had set up the gig. And it was an interesting gig because we were just kind of lazy musicians at the time, and we got a gig, and we're like, whatever. And they're in Vermont, and we're going to go up there. We're going to play a couple gigs. But this one was like not really described the way it should have been. It's like, people are actually going to sit down and listen to you.
Oh.
And a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's a little, You might want to talk about that, because if you're just thinking we're going to go up and entertain a bunch of people without, having a very weak set list, let's just say like that, a set list that I'm fine playing at any, podunk place across the country, but not to entertain people,
like not for musicians in the audience, perhaps.
Right.
Okay.
So, ended up just being a pianist in the audience. Was not very appreciative of my playing the piano. And I wouldn't disagree with him. I just disagree with that he's a pussy.
Just like going out of his way to talk shit behind your back, basically? Like that?
No, yeah, I mean, he came to talk shit to my face,
oh,
but he didn't.
I admire him for that, to be honest.
He should have come and cut me, though. You know,
like sat in and like.
Well, that's what he was stating. You know, in the moment we had met, right? That, hey, I should.
How odd.
I know what you're doing. You know, I can play that. You know, very generic stuff of like, I'm better than you type of thing. You know, like well,
saying
yeah,
I'm better than you,
I'm
like
not,
after a show. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's a very weird vibe.
Right. Which, you know, alcohol was probably involved, like most odd occurrences, and it was late at night. But needless to say, we I kind of questioned him on that, like, you know, well, yeah, if you know what I'm doing, that's fine. You want to do it better, you can go up.
Come on up, buddy.
Yeah. Like, I wasn't having fun playing there, and I doubt he does either, but in the end, it's he was a European, you know,
different vibe. Yeah.
Jazz pianist, very talented. Probably can play the piano very well, but it's not very entertaining. You know,
back to the theme.
And back to the theme. Like, are you going to entertain people, or are you going to play, you know, video game music on the fucking piano?
So you were on the Bear Skinner album with Nick Jost, Ryan Clackner, Jason Nazary. How did you learn that music so fast? Like, to my understanding, you did it in like a few days, and to me, it's not easy.
Oh.
So how did you manage that?
Counting is a unique term in music. Right, like how you count, and how you practice, and how you count, and how you feel beats and groupings, right? And like Philip Glass, you know, has some music that has like verbal counting going on in it, and there is some, you know, numerical ways that seem to be the way most people learn to count, you know, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, you know. But there's also just syllables, like in Indian classical music. When you're trying to learn something, multiple perspectives is always the best way, you know.
Tell me more about that.
So, like counting, you know, in my first experience of counting, you know, and would have been playing piano and 1 eanda, 2 eandas and stuff like that, or and then, you know, your first experience with maybe mixed meter songs or heavily rhythmic songs, you know, with different groupings. You just use numbers, like counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, and different permutations of that. But it's still a barrier, you know, and I think every tool that you're given the goal is to be internalized, and just to feel it. You don't want that, you know, barrier of a syllable or a number between you and what you want to express, right? So the multiple perspectives when you're learning something is getting all those tools, learning something, and then really trying to internalize it so you don't have to use those things, which, you know, in any way that you count, you'll notice. Like, the more you count, the more you'll start to feel it inside. And, yeah, with Alan's music, it was just really internalizing your beat.
Yeah.
You know? But the difficulty is translating that to playing with other people.
Right.
Because we're all going to internalize that a little different. We're going to play with that different. So that's the difficulty. Like the music itself on your own is not that hard, but in a group setting and achieving that, you know,
Yeah, I follow
musical element is like, okay, well, how do we all
agree on?
Because we're not computers,
Right.
And as close as you want to be to hitting every single subdivision, there's going to be one that's off, and most of yours are going to be off. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Like most humans. And you know, where Ryan Clackner is really big on bands and the band sound, because that's where people group around a similar rhythmic feel and can really lock that in, which you just can't get any other way, right? So that's just something I've been doing on the piano and solo piano a lot. So when I got Alan's music, it was like, okay, yeah, you know.
You can internalize it pretty quickly then.
Yeah, you just start, you feel the tempo of the song, you know, and you start to feel how you would groove to what you're looking at. The meeting of the minds of four people that have read something without hearing any of it and coming from their angle, you know, together. So, you know, as a first time, yeah, it was very interesting, you know, to hear everyone's interpretations.
Yeah.
And I think you could see it from Clackner, you know, just as being a lead instrument, you know, he was always kind of questioning, like, Alan, like, what do you want exactly here, you know? But I think Alan wanted the random, you know, and for those moments to happen, which is, it's all about creating. Just keep creating those moments until that one hits, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we've reinvented the musical wheel like a million times at this point. So what works in history is the best song, you know, the best arrangement, the right people, the right time, the right musicians. And that only happens with a scene, you know, and everyone's just sort of butting heads and pushing it forward until it's like, it happens.
Let's bring it back.
I think they're trying, you know, but it's tough.
It's tough.
You know, and
we just got to forge a new path. It's
maybe there is an international scene that'll like keep growing, stronger. But yeah, I worry because, you know, without the U.S. being part of the scene, it's like, you know, the birthplace of a lot of feel, you know, and swing and groove. And there are a lot of people here still grooving, you know, it's just, we're not in a scene anymore. Yeah. So, but Kevin Norton always said, you make your own scene.
Yes.
So who's going to make the scene? What does it take on an instrument to make a scene? And then I think I can get the piano louder than anyone else is by doing that. I don't know what the answer is, but I think that's what we got to keep going for. You know? And make your instrument entertaining, and don't make it about the music, you know, for them anyway. You know, find that new line of, you know, where you appreciate the music. Yeah. But it's also for, you know, the audience. I heard someone talking about this recently on the radio. It's like how to cater your performance to audience and keeping them engaged and this and that. But
you think it was bullshit?
I just don't think you can create it. There's a magic to it. There's a moment, you know, and when you capture those moments, whether it's live, and most of them are live, in my opinion, like the best moments in music were live moments. Yeah. And you capture those and you recreate them at that moment, you know, for the people, because even the best musicians might have had an album or two that was their best shit, you know. Like, yeah, we like all your other shit, but that was the shit.
That was the shit. Yeah.
That's what we want. Nonstop. We just want the shit. And you can stay around forever, but give us your shit.
It's
That's a running joke I have with someone. Is like, the next album I make, you're the only one that's ever going to hear it. You know? And yeah, you could that's from our perspective. There are opportunities to market yourself and push yourself out there and try to reach more people, but who's really going to listen to what you're doing?
No one. At the end of the day, no one gives a shit.
Maybe one person.
You got to give a shit about yourself to promote yourself.
If there's one person that likes your shit, it's worth it. I
agree with that.
At this point.
Yeah.
And just try to build that base of people who like to listen to what you do. Mm-hmm. I'm fine performing for 10 people in a room for $50.
Which hasn't changed with inflation in 20 years.
So, I don't need many. But yeah, that connection is important for the musician.
Feel.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks again for coming on. And we'll hear you on Bear Skinner.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please visit birchgrove.io. It's the home base for our record label, Birch Grove Media. You could buy a vinyl record or a digital album and sign up for our newsletter where you'll receive notifications about future events and releases. Also visit podfuelmedia.com. I'm one of the owners of this company, and if you like how this podcast was produced, we do that for our clients: audio, video edits, syndication, consulting, and startup for a new podcast. So book a call with us and we'll get your podcast going right away. You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/birchgrovemedia and leave us a tip if you'd like. Thank you very much.